In this video, we're going to show you which 4 plumbing parts and tools you should never be using. Now you're probably wondering, well, what are these things here? Well, believe it or not, these are all available at your big box stores like Lowe's and Home Depot, but you should not be using these parts here. And as a matter of fact, 3 of these parts here are a violation of the plumbing code and the building code. So if you were to get caught using these by your building inspector, they would freeze your job right there on the spot and they would not approve you, and you would have to get this remedied until they would give you a properly closed out building permit. So that all starts right now. Prohibited plumbing part number 1, the S-trap. All right, so let's start here with the S-trap and why this thing is so not the part you want to use here. Okay, so this is what your S-trap looks like. Now, you've probably never seen this before because these are really only in older houses. And so a normal P-trap, you know, your exit out of the sink, the drain pipe would come down to here and it would go like this and then straight over into the wall. But in this case, what we're doing is we're coming out of the drain pipe, going back up into another backwards, back-to-back P-trap, and then it's going down this way vertically and down to the floor. So the reason why this is a banned, in all 50 states ban this, by the way, it's in the Uniform Plumbing Code. It is a code violation. The reason why it is banned is because a lot of times if a nearby toilet flushes, or even when you stop, when you turn off your water, and if the water continues going and it empties out too much of this, and there's not enough water left back in here to maintain the trap seal. So remember, this is supposed to be your trap seal here. It's supposed to be covered in water inside this pipe here, from here up to about here, and this is called the trap seal. And that column of water right there is what's going to protect you from the methane gases that are going to come up through your pipe and get into your house. So a lot of times in older houses, people always complained about the smell of methane gas, you know, the sewer gases in their house, because they had an S-trap and it lost water. Sometimes if you have a powerful enough toilet nearby that flushes, it can suck some of the water, just the flow of it's almost like a capillary action type thing, but not quite. But basically the flow of that toilet flushing the water can suck with the air, can vacuum out some of that water too. So that's why these are banned in pretty much all 50 states. I don't know of a single state that allows these. I believe if you still have one installed, they'll allow you to continue with it. But if you were getting any kind of inspection, if you were doing any kind of remodeling, they would not allow you to continue to use this. So if you encounter one of these and you're doing a remodeling, I would say if you don't know how to do this yourself, try to bring in a plumber that can reroute the drain pipe inside your wall so that you can go to a standard out of the wall waste line so that you can just do a single regular P-trap. And really this S-trap is really just kind of like your free spot with bingo. It's the easiest one of the bunch here because I don't know of a single city or state that even allows these anymore. All right, so this is the part of the Florida plumbing codes here where it bans the S-traps. And remember, our Florida plumbing codes are based on the Uniform Plumbing Codes, which many states adopt. Some almost follow it exactly. Some kind of might renumerate things. But I believe our chapters are the same chapters as the Uniform Plumbing Code. And here in chapter 10 here, where it covers traps, interceptors, and separators, if you look down here in section 1002.3, prohibited traps, and item number 5 there says S-traps. So there it is. It's not even minced words, or there's no way you can misconstrue it. Well, maybe they didn't mean S-traps, or maybe there's conditions where you're allowed to have it. No, there aren't any. It specifically denies you to use S-traps. And I'm willing to bet that every single city and every single state probably has that prohibited trap there. Prohibited plumbing part number 2, the form and fit P-trap, otherwise known as the accordion P-trap or the flexible drain pipe. This is another banned part that you're not allowed to use. All right, so now let's take a look at why this form and fit P-trap is not allowed. Okay, so let's look first at who uses this type of a P-trap, these form and fit P-traps. So these are typically picked out by DIYers and of course your handyman. These are handyman specials, they call it in the plumbing industry. And the reason why they pick something like this is when they're remodeling or replacing their P-trap, okay, or they're remodeling their bathroom, they put in a new vanity and they go to hook this up and they realize that this is now off center from where it used to be by 6-7 inches. And so what do? You know, a few inches over. So they come and they buy this as one of those quick fixes, okay? And they do this with it. See, they adjust it over like that. And it looks good on paper. Go, hey, that's a great idea. Hey, you know, I don't have to do anything. It's a quick fix. But so one thing that should set off a red flag is the fact that it's a cheap solution, it's a quick solution, and that the DIYers and all the handymen are using it. Those to me are the big red flag things here. Now, we did a video a few months ago about how to assemble your P-trap when it's off center. And in there, I showed you the proper way to do it, which is the way the plumbers usually do it, which is you form it out of a few parts of PVC pipe and some fittings, and you glue them together. And it only took me about 10 minutes of work to put all those pieces together and make a solution that works, that satisfies the plumbing code. But we got a lot of hate on that video from all the trolls, mostly handymen, that would come on there and tell me I'm an idiot. You just turned a simple solution into a difficult all day long project. And you know, they brag, oh, I get these things, I get these form and fits, I get these, you know, snappy traps and all that. But these handymen don't understand that they are violating the plumbing code by doing that. So here they're coming in here bragging, and in their arrogance, they don't realize how they're totally screwing things up for their customer. Okay, so the other reason why you don't want to have one of these in place is that your insurance company for your house, your homeowner's insurance company, if they find out you have one of these, they will kick you off the policy. Now, in the past year, I've already had to go on to 2 different ladies' houses, okay, to remove these, because one lady in particular, the insurance company came and did an inspection on her house and they discovered this. They gave her 48 hours to get rid of it or they were going to drop her. So we had to like just, you know, real quick get over there and get this thing pulled out of there and put in a real P-trap setup for her. So that's another reason why you don't want it. You get the code violations. It's not a very good solution because it traps particles and debris, and your insurance company, if they find out you have this, can potentially drop you as a customer. Okay, so now here on the accordion type form and fit P-traps here's in the code where it prohibits them. And it's not explicit, so you do have to sort of read between the lines, but if you look here, like I mentioned before, in our Florida building code, the plumbing codes here, which follow the uniform plumbing codes. And here under, we're in section 10 again, and under traps and interceptors and separators, under section 1002.2, design of traps. So here we're talking about the type of trap you can use, and it says, fixture traps shall be self-scouring. Fixture traps shall not have interior partitions, except where such traps are integral with the fixture, or where such traps are constructed of an approved material that may be made with an approved elastomeric gasket, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, so it's the first part of that really comes into play here, because it says the fixture trap shall be self-scouring. And as I've pointed out many times over the years, self-scouring means what goes in must be able to come out. The water that goes in there must be what cleans out the trap as it's going in and out and through the trap. And when you have those accordions there, and I've seen it because I've taken out these accordion traps from other people's houses, the problem is all of the stuff that gets clogged in there, all of the hair, the junk, the dust, the goo, the toothpaste, you name it, it's in there. And if people drop floss down their drain, the floss is caught in there, and floss can cause capillary action. It can cause a very undesirable capillary action, which means that if the floss gets caught in the vent pipe, as it goes further down and goes into the wall and gets caught in the vent pipe, the dental floss there can actually cause the water to leave the trap and drip and run down the pipe. And when you look at it, you think there's no way that can happen. It just boggles the mind. But it does happen, and it's called capillary action, and it can actually cause the water in your trap to leave, and then you'll get the methane smell. You'll have the sewer gases coming back up because enough water seeped out of your trap that you weren't able to maintain that column of water in there. So here's a prime example of a really bad one, because can you imagine here if you had to have water and stuff coming down here and going at an angle like this? It would all get caught in here. What if you're a guy with a beard and you shave your beard and all of the clippings go in here and they all get caught in there? Alright, so this here is your saddle valve here. And the reason why they call this a saddle valve is because they clamp it around a pipe, see, so the pipe would go right here through the middle here, right here. And it clamps over it like a saddle, and you have this little black rubber piece here that goes up in here. And it will clamp over the pipe, and it kind of looks like this, see? And so the problem with this, what people do with this is usually handyman and DIYers use this part here. If they have to tap into a copper pipe for water, and they're using this to make like an ice line go into your ice maker or for fresh water for your coffee maker, they'll do this. And what happens is, the way this works is you see this guy right here up top here, the more you tighten him down, there's a little needle here underneath here that pierces down into that copper pipe, so it taps into that copper pipe. And then when you tighten everything down, this is supposed to tighten completely down around the pipe, and then you have a nice source of water, and it was quick and easy and dirty, just like all the other code violations that we talked about, okay? So the problem with these saddle valves is they work real good at the beginning, and it doesn't take long at all before they start leaking and dripping water, and that can turn into a very costly repair depending on where your saddle valve is located, and it of course can lead to massive thousands of dollars in mold damage just from stupid $5 part that you had no business using in the first place. So you're probably wondering, well, why does Home Depot and Lowe's and all the other stores make these available to people? Why are they using them? Well, I don't know why. It's stupidity. There's a lot of parts that they sell you that you should not be using, and this is definitely one of them. In fact, most plumbers, when they show up on the scene, will just take this off and chuck it. So the people generally use this because they lack, one, they lack the skill set to do any kind of soldering of pipe, and two, they're too cheap to bring in a plumber that can do the fix for them in 10 minutes and just solder in like a T adapter for them, and then they could have a tap into to convert into something like this where they could screw their hose in for the water. But it always boils down to time and money. Somebody was trying to save time, somebody was trying to save money, and then you combine that with a handyman that doesn't know what the heck he's doing, all right, has absolutely zero common sense. And I don't know how in the world people think that it's okay to just tap in and pierce a pipe like that. And I'll tell you something else too. A lot of times when they tighten down on these, or just the act of piercing into the pipe can deform that pipe and take it out of round. That also could lead to turbulence of the water inside that pipe, which could break down any nearby soldering connections on the pipe too. So there's secondary failures that can happen. I've seen some of these that they were so badly corroded and everything that eventually it could corrode through the copper pipe that it's on because of all of the water leaking through. That will greatly accelerate that pipe degrading and falling apart and just crumbling. And then you'll have a much bigger leak on your hands, one that's like literally shooting water. So that's why you never want to use a saddle valve ever. Okay, so there's your saddle valve on the pipe here, ready to be installed. So this is how your uninformed handymen do this. They screw down both ends of this until it's tightened onto the pipe. And I'll do this side here. So they wait till it's nice and snug like that, you see. Make sure it's really squeezing on there good. And you can see how that's the saddle right there. Okay, so then what they do is they start screwing this thing down here, and that little point is going to shoot right down into the middle of it and go right into the top of the pipe. So I can feel it grabbing into it now, so I think we might have it. We'll see. They usually go all the way down till it's tight. Okay, so now we're going to loosen this back up, and we'll see if it pierced the pipe there. So this will come all the way up again. Reverse it all the way back up to where it was. Then we'll loosen this. You can see right there, there's your hole. So the hole is right there where the tip of my finger is. So it's just this very small hole, and that hole allows the water to come up through the saddle valve here and it comes out of this port here where you have your ice maker hose going. And that's how it supposedly works. Okay, so now we're going to show you where in the code it says here that you cannot use these saddle valves, okay? So again, here in our Florida building code and the plumbing codes here, which are based on, like I've mentioned before, the Uniform Plumbing Code. And in there, in Chapter 6 is where we find ourselves now under Water Supply and Distribution. So right here in Section 605.9, under Prohibited Joints and Connections, it says the following types of joints and connections shall be prohibited. And if you look at number 4, it says right there, saddle type fittings. And again, there's no ambiguity here. There's no, well, they didn't directly say it, so we should be able to use it, or we're just using it temporary, you know, we should be able to use it. Nobody ever does a temporary saddle joint because they know damn well if they unscrew the thing and take it off, they're going to have water shooting everywhere. So let's not kid ourselves. Anybody that thinks they're doing a temporary fitting with a saddle type fitting with a saddle valve is nuts. They're just lying to themselves, they're lying to you, they're hiding it from the inspectors. And this is why you do not ever use a saddle type fitting. Now, this is a tool here that I've used this a few times before. I used to own one of these. I threw it out. I don't even use it anymore. So I paid up my own money just to show you guys what not to buy. So you're welcome, America. But anyway, so this is a faucet handle sleeve puller. And you know, I have some Husky tools. I enjoy Husky. I don't have any problem with their tools. But this particular tool, complete, total waste of money. I cannot recommend this tool for anybody to use. And I'll show you why right now. Okay, so let me show you here now why we use this tool here. So normally when we're doing plumbing and when we're remodeling, every time I come across a water cutoff valve, I change them automatically. Whenever we're remodeling, I just automatically change it out no matter what to a brand new one. And so this is how they actually work here. Let me show you. So when you change out one of these angle stops here, these are called compression. So what happens is you unscrew the nut here with your big rigid all-in-one wrench there, and when it unscrews, the valve comes off, but then you can't get this off because you're supposed to, now this won't be moving, this will be compressed in place, okay? But this is going to be compressed down. That's where the seal is actually made, otherwise you would have dripping water everywhere. And so you can't get the nut off there until you get this thing off of here. This is the sleeve. Some people call this the ferrule, F-E-R-R-U-L-E. Some people call it a ferrule ring. Some people call it a ferrule sleeve. Some people just call it a sleeve, but no matter what you call it, that part has to come off. So how do you get that thing off? Well, the way this tool supposedly works is you're supposed to stick it in here like this. And it goes all the way in the pipe. It's supposed to go all the way around that thing. And it's supposed to screw this part here into the big nut. Okay, like that. And once it screws into the nut, you're then supposed to take this guy here and turn. So then once you have the whole apparatus on there, the tool is now in place, you are supposed to turn the handle here while squeezing this with your hands to hold this bracket here behind the nut. And watch what happens. See, it's supposed to slowly pull the nut out. The only problem is that you see a lot of times you have this problem going on. You can't quite get the right distance. And so you're going to have the handle banging with it. That's one failure mode that I see a lot. The other one is it's just a poor design of this handle, that they don't give you enough mechanical advantage by making it longer like you would on other tools where you stick a screwdriver through and crank it around. You know, you don't have a moment arm or a wrenching action that you can take use of, because now you're just doing with your thumb and a couple of fingers on the backside. So that's weird, and that hurts your fingers really bad, because sometimes you get these sleeves that don't want to budge, and this is not the tool for something that doesn't want to budge. Because what happens is, as you're squeezing with all your might and trying to turn this with all your might with a couple of fingers, what happens is the forces are too great, and it wants to spread this guy like this, and it just pops right. It can't seem to do it. These keep popping out like this. There's too much movement. You can't have a tool like this with movement like this. You have to have a rigid tool that's designed specifically to fit around the back of that nut and stay there. Okay, that's why I don't like this thing at all. And not only that, these are sharp edges all over here, and they dig into your hand. And so I bought one of these a few years ago. I made the mistake of buying it because it was a cheap $10 tool. The problem here is that when you get those sleeves that don't want to budge, you're fighting with this thing. One time I fought for 45 minutes with a sleeve that didn't want to come off, and I couldn't just cut the pipe behind it and say the heck with it, because there wasn't enough pipe behind there to cut it, because whoever the plumber was originally that put this on there wasn't too bright and left a very, very short amount of copper pipe, and so I couldn't even get behind it to cut it. So that's why I went and started to buy two different tools that I use now. Alright, so what I have here is there's two other preferred tools that I like to use. So I use this duck puller here. This is probably my favorite one, and this one costs about 40 bucks, so that's why a lot of people are not so willing to pay that kind of money. And it works in a similar fashion. They all work in the same under the same pretense that they want to go around. Let me get this just closer here. They go around behind the nut, and then this screws in here, and it forces itself against the copper pipe. And then you can see all I have to do is get a wrench and turn this guy here. And let me get it right there for you to see. So all I need is this wrench here, which doesn't fit. Does this side? No. Wait, this one might. Okay, yes. Alright, so all I do is I take my wrench and just turn it like that, see? Let me just take it off and show you, because I really have it loose. You just take the wrench and you keep turning it, and you can see how it slowly pulls the nut with the sleeve right off of the pipe. It really is that easy. Now, of course, here you're going to be using a small wrench, an adjustable wrench or whatever, or fixed, or you can use this one. This side of the rigid all-in-one wrench fits it perfectly. I will put a link to this wrench down in the description so you can check it out. It's probably one of the best things ever. I use this so much in plumbing because it's designed to fit everything, all of your valves and the toilet, you know, the toilet hose as well, to secure the toilet hose onto the valves. But see how this screws this off of there like that? It's just that quick and that easy. There's another tool that I use. Okay, so here's another tool I use that does the same, very similar type thing here. So it looks like this. So you take this and it fits over the pipe, and it screws into the big nut there. See? So once I have that screwed into the big nut and it's nice and tight, what I then do is I get a socket with a ratchet and put it right here and just click, 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 just keep turning it, and you'll see what's happening. See how it slowly draws the nut right off of the pipe with the sleeve. It just pushes it against the sleeve. So that's a much better mechanical advantage than this other stupid thing. This is probably one of the worst designs ever, and I'm quite surprised really at Husky that they would put out a tool like this. I mean, this thing is just horrible, and it hurts your hand to even use it. These other two here are nothing, okay? Now, yeah, this is a lot cheaper. It's 10 bucks, but what good is it when it doesn't even work on most of the sleeves that you're going to be pulling off? Because let me tell you something. Now, what I showed you here was just so easy. I could do it with my hand, but remember, when these are compressed on and they're on there for 30 years and corroded, and the pipe has maybe got green and corrosion, that thing's not coming off. It's like permanently cemented on there, and you need something that's real aggressive, that goes old school on that, like this. It's a simple case of push and pull at the same time, and this is a much easier mechanical advantage. The ability to use a wrench and the screw, you know, it's using the threaded screw that slowly like a worm drive almost. It just slowly drives it out. So that's why we don't recommend you use this thing. Save yourself the agony and don't bother. All right, so we'll take another look here at all of our new enemies and hopefully some new friends over here. And we'll put a link down in the description here, in the video description, to all of these newer tools here. So that if you want to go buy any of them from Amazon, you can. And just remember, we get a little bit of commission from Amazon when you buy through our links. That's what supports our channel. It gives us a little bit of income, and that's what allows us to keep continuing to bring you these useful videos, okay? So we appreciate your support on that. And we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have, please give us a thumbs up down below. Be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon next to it. That way you'll be alerted every time we upload a new video, because believe me folks, you don't want to miss a single one of our videos on situations like this, tool reviews. We go into the stores, we find you the best deals that are currently going on. We give you home renovation tips, bathroom renovation tips, all sorts of engineering disaster information. And that's it for this time, folks. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.